right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Omari Salisbury, welcoming you here to the Paramount Theater. Joined this morning, my colleague.
Yeah, what's going on, everybody? It's your main man, Proof in the Play. How y'all feel today? We live in the Paramount. Oh,
Yeah, no, it's crazy. We didn't expect to be here on the 8 a.m. slot,
definitely not.
and but it's an opportunity. This space came available, and we wanted to definitely create and make space for a colleague, a good friend, gone too soon, D'Vonne Pickett Jr.
Yeah, man, D-Pick, man, he's really gone too soon. Our version of Nipsey Hussle. It was our version. I'm gonna really praise him like that.
Yeah, and we still got your audio there. Um, so today, what we got lined up is we got some video that we're going to be looking at as well.
Yeah.
But fortunately for us, we're also joined by some mental health professionals. We're going to be joined by Michelle Phillips, LMHCA, mental health clinician and healer. And then also going to be joined by Adair Hasty Vanoy, MED. It's a lot of letters here. Who is a clinical supervisor and therapist at Ellison Coaching and Counseling Group. I think it's important. We suffer just tragedy after tragedy in our community, unfortunately, like decade after decade, and we never really have really good conversations about grief and about healing and dealing with our trauma. And so we want to be able to use some of the time today to be able to do that as well.
Yeah, I think all of us. It takes time for us to grieve, but we need to learn how to take the steps when we're ready to start grieving. Because like everybody grieves differently, but we need to learn how to get some steps and some outlines so we can kind of step by step get through it.
Right. I was in Houston almost 1 week ago. I was down there at my daughter's softball game when I got the news. You called me.
Yeah.
You called me, and I flew right back here, and man, I wasn't ready for just people loved Devon.
Yeah, I found that I wasn't the only one that loved him like that. I guess it was something personal to me. He supported me, and I think he rubbed off on everybody that way. He was always a free spirit, but he was always going to support you. He always wanted to see you grow.
Right.
But he's a living example, though, for real.
100%. So last year we had the opportunity. We partnered with Vanish in Seattle and also the Seattle Department of Neighborhoods, and we produced a short film about D'Vonne and Kiana Pickett and their business, the Postman. And the premise of the film was like, here is a business, people from the community that's thriving in place despite gentrification and displacements that's happening in the Central District. And for people who might not have known Devon or who are just trying to catch up on who Devon was, I think that this short film right here kind of gives some insight into Devon and Kiana Pickett and the Postman.
Hi, I'm Kiana Pickett with the Postman.
And I'm D'Vonne Pickett with the Postman. Brief history is that a young couple started a mom and pop shipping center in loving memory of my great-grandfather, Jacques Chappelle. He was a USPS mail carrier for 37 plus years in the community and ultimately retired from the post office. And then we wanted to take it a step further and created our own shipping platform.
We really feel like we came in at a time where the community was really being hit with gentrification, and it's like not something we can prevent, but we're like right in the middle of it. And then with the USPS leaving and a lot of people really relying on that service, it was really a pivotal time when we came in, and we were like embraced with open arms because people needed the services. We brought back faxing. People were not able to send a fax anywhere. And so what Devon loves to say is we took a mundane type of service like shipping or the postal service and like created something that's like a culture, and you come in here to get lifted up. There's just so much that we brought to the community that it was missing, and that we're like growing off of what was already here.
I'm born and raised in Seattle, Central District area. My roots in the community are really tied in mailing or business where we're from in the inner city is not something that, people are understanding the importance of it now, and they're becoming more enlightened in those things, So to see us doing that is like, well, I could go start a tax company or, whatever outside the box that we don't always, outside of being an athlete or something like that. As a CEO, I like to look at the bigger picture of it all, and just knowing that we bring something that everyone can learn from, no matter their background. It's pivotal. I just feel like in one regard, it could be just seen as a mail center, you know what I mean? But then if you dig deeper, it's like it says so many different things in the progression of where we are as a community.
There's a lot of different conversations that happen in the Postman. We go from talking about astrology to like what's going on in politics, and it's really like a space you can come into with your own views and have a real conversation and not feel like I'm gonna be wrong. We have a lot of entrepreneurs that come in that are just getting started and coming and getting insight, and like they see that we did it and they have questions of like, how do I get to where you are at, or taking their business ideas to the next level. We bootstrapped it since the beginning, so continuing to want to grow and just already, dotting our I's, crossing our T's, doing taxes, hiring employees. Those have all been like challenges that you face anyway, but then when COVID happened, then now, you can't just walk into a building and go get service or just call someone on the phone because people are working from home. We did a promotion of paying for the postage for people to just send a card to a loved one or someone that they just wanted to give a message to, and we were inspired to do that because we were just seeing like a lot of people were freaked out. They didn't know what was going on, and we didn't know what was going on either, but it was our way to keep spreading love and getting people to be positive.
We want to employ as many people as we can from the community. We got probably like 9 employees, and majority of them are family, you know what I mean? Yeah, I see us being like a community like Starbucks, UPS, Apple, all these things in one, just being a cornerstone for people, an outlet for them to talk, or a meeting space to have some time to connect, We're young, we live in an era where like everything is moving, so we're very involved with the Postman, but we're also looking to start scaling it by like 2 years, 3 years, so that we can focus on other things that evolve this business plus other businesses we're starting.
The future of the Postman is the Postman app and neighborhood marketplace. What the app is going to do is basically allow customers to continue to use the Postman services whether they come into the store or they're doing it from home. And then we'll have the neighborhood marketplace, which will be a marketplace of local micro and small businesses that use the Postman, that ship from the Postman, and that are here around the Postman. And then as we open up more stores, the neighborhood will grow to all those surrounding businesses.
The challenge has been staying true to the values of what we want, right? Through all the success, the failure, all those different things, because being young, being a couple, having a family, having a ton of success, being in the limelight, it can be, there can be a lot that comes with it.
Since there's been a lot of changes in the Central District, we hope that with the Postman, we're creating more jobs, and we hope that the community wants to come and be a part of the Postman and part of the growth, because it's more than just shipping, and there's real community involvement. We just recommend and encourage the city leaders and politicians to, come down to the Postman, come talk with D'Vonne or I. If you're looking to have insight on, people from the community that are on what we like to call the ground level or the street level, and that are also connected with, people who are up in the corporate. We talk to a lot of different people. That's where, being connected to community is our thing. And so we just encourage and invite, those city officials, leaders, politicians, come talk with us and find out what the people really want and need.
So yeah, the Postman right there. And again, thanks to Vanish in Seattle and the Seattle Department of Neighborhoods who partnered with us in the production of that. But I think it kind of gives some insight. They said that this young couple, coming right there.
Yeah,
to the
like
CD.
I guess it's different because I seen Devon from the ground up. When he said something about, you don't just have to be a basketball player or a baller, right? He was a basketball player, a hell of a basketball player, the floor general. You know what I mean? And the reason I had to bring that up was his travel through basketball made him the man he was. He got through college by playing the game, but then he learned that it's a whole lot more than just basketball. And he was a living example. When you see dreams and you're not able to touch them, you're not able to touch people that accomplish their goals. He was one person that walked the same pavement that we did. And then he showed us how to actually hustle in a real way. Like, go get you a business. You can do it. Like I did it, you can do it too. I walked the same path you did, but I chose to, grind for it. So I just, he was somebody that always was inspiring to know that you can do it. You can strive for better. You don't have to stay in the same, situation that you're in.
Right, and Devon actually went Rainier Beach High School and
Yes.
then Central Arizona College and came back to Seattle University.
Yes, he did. Now, just think about it. He's from the CD, but he went to high school in Rainier Beach. Okay, he got love from everywhere. You hear me? And it wasn't a problem when he was at Rainier Beach. That everybody say something about the CD South End, but really we all family. At the end of the day, the real recognize the real. Devon went from the CD and went to Rainier Beach. He showed love there, and he got love in the South End. So, I just, that's somebody you got to inspire to be. Being a good human being. He was a good man first before he was anything else. So, so many more things I could talk about D Pick, but
Right, and also, I wanted to say that this is us, kind of like what we have, like a lot of the Converge stuff and video and everything else. But this ain't it. Meaning that, like, we got lots of space and capacity here. I know it's a lot of different community members.
Yes.
That, at all kinds of different aspects of Devon. So I'm just saying this isn't the beginning. This show right here isn't the beginning or the end. Well, it's definitely a beginning, but it's not the end. And with the Converge platform is open, because there's a whole basketball community. That's
man,
out
listen,
there.
man. I'm gonna put it to you like this, man. Devon always, Nipsey was one of his inspirations. We always got to say the marathon continues. He always told me that. He always said he was respected what I did, but he always wanted me to level up. Always wanted me to see that, I could do better. So, this definitely ain't the end. His legacy's gonna always live on.
Right. We've got one more piece of video here, and then we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back with Michelle Phillips, who's a mental health clinician and healer. In 2020, right before the lockdown, right? This was
lockdown supreme.
Yeah, this is Converge, man. So I'll let people know this is before the protest, before the lockdown, man. And
I remember
we was going into election season, and I was like, man, listen. Democrat, Republican, whatever, bet on a sure thing. Vote Black Love,
For sure.
And
for sure.
We piloted a show, right? It was a Vote Black Love 2020. And the very first couple was D'Vonne and Kiana Pickett.
Man, their love is crazy, man. Like, it's like so strong to be so young, It ain't nothing like a young love. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And this whole segment is 12 minutes long. We're not going to play all 12 minutes here this morning. A big shout out to Ruben for he went and basically re-edited everything and put it together.
Nice.
We'll put the whole thing out later on today. But we got a clip right here from Vote Black Love 2020 with Devon and Kiana Pickett. And the question to both of them was, what do they love the most about each other?
His tenacity, his grit, his drive. I love that, he's a diamond in the rough. He comes from the mud where I come from, and I love that even when I'm crazy and just crazy, that's the word. He's still there, my my lover, my best friend. So I love that.
I could just list a whole bunch of stuff. Like, I mean, I always just tell her she's a sweetheart. I just feel like she at the root of everything, she's a sweetheart. You know what I mean? I really love her because she loves all of me, which I feel like me being me, I know that there can be some challenges because I'm an alpha male and all that, but she definitely has loved me from the day I met her, and you know, I mean, since we fell in love. And I would say just how smart she is and how beautiful she is, and just her willingness to like be more, and her like drive to be more. Like, you know, I always admire how like where she comes from and how we both come from similar backgrounds, but it's like this is where we ended up and this is where we're at. And I feel like I like her openness to just really, you know, allow me to lead and like just be all the way in, and like it allows me to love her that much more. I mean, I feel like words I'm gonna fall short, but I definitely I love her dearly. I tell her all the time, and I feel like I show that in ways of just us still doing stuff together, and just always wanting it to be known that like when you see me, that's her too, and just legacy, you know. And I always tell her I really love her on a deep level because I just know her, so I think about her family and how her upbringing and all that, and I always tell her like I got you, because that's just how I am. And I think about like I'm really who her support is, and her like my family has become her family in a real way. And so yeah, I mean, I love her, man. I love her with all of me, you know what I'm saying? That part.
Break out in song.
Yo, that was man, Pickett's.
Yeah, for real. You know, for young men, like young people to express their love like that and actually have a real love, you know, everybody should be inspired to have love like that, you know. Through the ups and downs, you always got to find someone to love, you know. And they showed it, you know, and everything they did was together. Wasn't never a part thing. You never seen, you know, Devon do a business without his wife right there next to him. So, you know, I just appreciate, you know, them showing us what it is, you know, through the good and bad, we can always stick together, you know.
Right. And we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna put out that full episode number 1 of Black Love. Trey Holiday brought Black Love back in March.
Yes, she did.
Yeah, you were there. We did 1 week of Black Love specials. So never know, this might be an impetus to have another round of that.
Yeah, I think we do. I think a whole lot of us need to show, you know, see a lot more Black love and know that it's possible to love one another a lot more than what we're doing right now.
Yes, it is. We're going to take a quick break right now. When we come back, we're going to be joined by Michelle Phillips. Michelle is a mental health clinician and a healer. You're watching Special Report.
Basically, fam, believe in giving. Like, we have to be willing to give more, and people seem to always think giving means money, but nah, bro. It's like you can give time, you can give understanding, you can give access, you can give a listening ear and an open heart. You can give and share your God-given gifts and talents, but you just got to give.
COVID-19 hurt my income, my health, and my family. We were about to lose our home when we heard we might be eligible for homeowner assistance funds from the government. We called 1-877-894-HOME, and a housing counselor stepped in, talked to our lender, and saved our home. Federal funding details at washingtonhalf.org. That's washingtonhaf.org.
Welcome back to Special Report. D'Vonne Pickett Jr. Gone too soon. My name is Omari Salisbury. I'm joined now on the set by Michelle Phillips, who is a mental health clinician and healer. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Yeah, thank you for coming on such short notice. You know, we got this slot late yesterday, and hit up Ashley McGirt as usual, and Ashley went and reached out to the community, and here you are.
Right. Yeah. Ashley is, I feel like, she was unable to fulfill her crown. So, she could reach out to other folks in the community who, are deeply supporting all the work that she is doing for community. And I'm just grateful to have been available to join you all this morning.
Right. So we want to show everybody here two things, and then we want to come and talk to you about the grief and the trauma that our community is dealing with, and how we might be able to deal with some of that. And Matt, you'll tell me when, because I don't have a monitor. The first one is the photos. It's a photo vigil, and what people should be seeing right now is this was the cards and the flowers and the condolences that were left out there at the Postman, and also some photos of the candlelight vigil and community. It was so many hundreds of people came out. They had to close MLK right there because there was
the first of its kind.
You were saying, Proof?
And that was the first of its kind. I haven't seen a candlelight like that. I mean, they did it up for my man. They blocked off Union and MLK. Nobody can drive through there. Let us all, remember his name. So that was the first time I've seen that happen. So.
Right. It was a lot of different kind of people there too.
Yeah, it wasn't just.
It was lots of black folk there.
It was
lots
everybody.
of white people, lots of other people.
Man,
I mean, it was
big shout out to
good.
Seattle University too. Their basketball team came through and showed love to their alumni, man, because he is alumni. So that it just shows that the community can work together.
Right. And then we got a video clip here. This was of the balloon release.
That's just a big time right there.
All right, so Michelle, that day, I mean, we could visually see it because there was hundreds of people that were out there, all in different levels of grief and different levels of trauma. But I mean, as a mental health professional, and tell us what's going on? What are we experiencing?
Right. That outpouring is really so beautiful to see. It's what we need. It's a community in mourning, and oftentimes we don't have the opportunity to express our grief fully, when we experience a loss, right? We got to keep going to work. We got to keep doing life as usual. We may not be able to get that time off of work, when, maybe it's not like an immediate relative, right? But it's somebody that you're taking care of in community. And so you can't get that bereavement leave, from work. But this is what we need to do as a community. We need to come together and be allowed and have space to really express our grief and mourning around, this tremendous loss for our community.
One of the things that we hear a lot, and unfortunately going to too many funerals, and one thing that we hear a lot is like, man, be strong, be strong. Right. And I know me personally, and I don't know if it's the right way or the right approach, but me personally, a few years ago, I made a decision to, go through it to get to it. You know what I'm saying? And I really put myself in a place of like, man, I'm gonna be funky, I'm gonna be sad, but I know that I won't always be there. So instead of me being like, man, I'm gonna just be strong, I'm gonna be weak because this is what I'm feeling right now. I mean, what are some of the, because like I said, we really hear a lot, man. Absolutely. You just gotta be strong.
Absolutely.
Don't cry,
Absolutely. And it's, we say we can't heal what we can't feel. And we've grown so numb. We're so caught up. We have so many griefs, right? That's compounding on each other. So many losses that are compounding. When you give yourself that permission, like, look, I'm gonna feel these feelings. Then we can begin to really heal and move on into what was this life and legacy trying to tell me? Like, what do I want to do? What do I want to make out of this loss? But we can't get there if we don't give ourselves permission to fully grieve the losses that we're experiencing.
Yeah, I have a question because for some reason it always says when it rains and pours, and for this instance it kind of is, because Devon passing and then Caleb Isabel passing, which was his best friend in a car accident days later.
Right.
It's just hard for us to start the process.
Right.
Tell us about this, the strong people on, giving them space in order for them to start the process.
Right. So I'm going to say, don't stop. Okay. So grief is a normal and expected reaction to any loss, change, or transition. Right. So it's going to look different for everybody, but it is a normal and expected reaction. And stuff's changing all the time. So grief is always there. So don't even stop. Right? Just know that grief is always going to be there, right? And you're going to be asking questions like, what does my grief need today? And keep asking yourself that question until those answers become how you live, right? So I might need to stop. I might need to take a break today. I might need that mental health day, right? Just don't stop. And it's not that people mistake grief and sadness. They are different things. Right? They're two different things, and it's different than depression.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Those three things, they're not all the same. So don't stop grieving, right? And that doesn't mean that you're not going to experience joy. You can experience joy because you are in touch with your grief. You feel me?
Yeah, I feel you.
I
Michelle.
think that when I talk to a lot of young people, what was that in August? We had 5 funerals in 5 days.
Right. That's right.
And one of the funerals I was at, this young person got up who's experienced a lot of trauma. He's been around a lot of death and murder at like 20, 21, 22 years old.
Right.
And what he said was like, man, he's just numb to it. He's like, man, we're just all gonna die anyway. And it was so impacted. I went and talked to him after that, but it seems like that there's an element of us now, and especially the younger people, these young adults have experienced so much trauma after trauma after trauma, and then us sometimes as old folks, we sit there and we wonder why our young people are doing some of the things they do, because there sometimes seems to be a disconnect, and we're disregarding the amount of trauma that these young people have been through. I mean,
That's
to be
right.
20 years old and have 4, 5, 6 friends that have murdered or committed suicide and everything else is real difficult. What's going on right now in our community, and I can understand how someone wants to put up a barrier to feeling, because when they open it up, that feeling might just be so overwhelming.
Right. Yeah, you might actually just have 5 years of tears to cry.
Wow.
Right? You just might. And that numb feeling, it really adds to this sort of chaotic precarity. You feel it when you're inside big groups now, especially after the pandemic, right? It's like this feeling, we have, it's like you don't know what's going to pop off, right? Because people have really been taken to an edge. And so it's so important that we break the stigma, that we start talking about mental health, we start talking about trauma in our families, that we start telling people why people died, the conditions that they passed in, so that it can be a message to those young people, right? Like, hey, this happened because of mental health. So that can encourage them to seek the help that they need, because that numb feeling, you can't move. You start making poor decisions, and those feelings, that's human, right? That rage, that anger, that grief, that sadness, that's a marker of our humanity. That makes us human, right? So we got to be worried when we don't have those feelings, when we are locked up, and we can't express, what we really need to express.
I could tell you, like, I go through a whole lot of emotions about this, right?
Yeah,
I'm tired of seeing my inspirations go down while
That's
these
right.
suckers are still living, man.
that's
I
right.
don't like it.
That's
I mean,
right.
people that making me grow, that making me want to do better,
Right. Right.
ain't here no more. So I gotta live off the memories.
That's right. That's right.
But these suckers are still out here, man, and I don't like it. And I'm trying to fight through it. I know I got to be strong, is what they say, but I ain't strong for that, man. I don't know how to take that.
Right. Right. And the thing that I want to say is, mental health is all of our issue, right? You are not alone, right? And so we've gotten to this point where we feel like we got to suffer alone, and we don't, right? And people's mental health becomes our issue, right, when they leave their homes and start acting out, committing violence, right? So it's like we're not free, right? This young brother lost his life, right? So none of us are free. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
I know that, for me around this, it's really weird because like it comes in waves.
Right.
Like I said, I was in Houston. I flew home. I got off the plane and hit the ground running, covering things like like a journalist hat on, and covering. Okay, here's what's going on here. Here's the latest information. Here's the candlelight vigil. Here's what people are saying and everything else. And I got through the first day, fine, because it's like I had that hat on,
Right.
and then the next day it was like a lot of media stations was calling. They wanted interviews, and I was just too overwhelmed with grief. And I know, like,
Right.
before, I'd probably be like, okay, let me sit and try to talk. But I thought about it. I was like, man, let me be in my. I'm not obligated.
That's
You
right.
know what I'm saying? I
That's
think
right.
maybe that's something as well, is that we always feel like we obligated,
Right.
obligated, whatever. Sometimes we just gotta be in the moment, and
Mhm.
it's I hear what Proof is saying, and then like
Yeah.
we,
That's
we
right.
put we put so much hope in this young man.
Yes. Yes.
You know
we
what I'm
did.
saying? And
Yes.
just real inspiring. I remember D'Vonne, he come up there, a black dot on Jackson, and we
Right.
said talk, because he was rapidly growing in the media space. People don't realize, like, D'Vonne was in the Puget Sound Business Journal.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? At one time, the people from TED Talk were sitting there trying to get D'Vonne to do TED Talks and everything.
Mhm.
But he'd come up there, we be talking, we be doing some media training. I'm like, man, D'Vonne, bro, you're gonna be a star, bro. I like, you're already a star in all these other things, man. He was like, man,
That's
you're gonna, and it's like it's a lot of times in community where you invest a lot in the people and you don't see it. Man, every investment made in D'Vonne, all across, you saw a return in this young man.
That's right.
And you saw his growth.
That's
You know
right.
what I'm saying? It was a return. And I'm just sad.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. That's right. And it's we can busy ourselves, and then when we can't go, any further, right? It's like we have to just sit in that grief, and you realize, that you needed to take a moment.
I
Yeah.
don't know, man. I can't take too much but a moment,
Right.
D'Vonne told me to the marathon continues. So I'm gonna take this time.
That's right.
I gotta keep moving.
And-
He respected what I did, so I gotta keep going.
And in that sense, because that's something, you know what I'm saying, not more than just a lyric or a motto from Nipsey Hussle. It's a lot of us in community who really we gravitate to that the marathon continues. But maybe you could break that down in the sense that a marathon is just that, a marathon.
Right.
And that our life's work, our marathon will continue, and sometimes this grief is the sprint, but our
Mhm.
life work is the marathon.
That's right. That's right. And you got to slow down to prepare for a marathon. And like I was saying, this, if busyness were a cure for grief, we'd be done already. You know what I'm saying? So the first part of grieving is like figuring out what you're not gonna do. Like what doesn't need to be done right now. You know what I'm
Wow.
saying? Like what can wait, in order to give yourself the opportunity to really grieve. And the message in any loss, like you're saying about legacy, the message in any death is really, how am I gonna live? How are we gonna take, all that D'Vonne Pickett Jr. accomplished in his short life, and how are we going to be the embodiment of his legacy? I was one of the entrepreneurs at the Postman, getting packages together and, being and sitting and talking with Kiana and talking with his family and seeing his babies. What are we gonna do as a collective to heal and to truly live and be the embodiment of what this young brother was trying to do with his life, right? That's his message to us. That's what we need to be about right now.
Michelle, before we let you go, any other words of advice or encouragement to community?
Mm-hmm. I want to say that, we have to start talking about our grief, our losses, our trauma. We have to talk about we have to talk about it with each other, in our families. We got to break the stigma, the shame. We got to seek support and services, when they are needed, in order to grieve, or in order to really fully to thrive and to be inside of joy and liberation. We must give ourselves time and space to grieve and heal.
All right. Michelle Phillips, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right. We're going to take a quick break right now. And we're going to talk about, one thing people might not realize is that Devon was also the head coach of the CD Panthers 6U team. And these are young boys between the ages of 4 to 6. And his son also played on the team. And so we're going to talk to Adair Hasty Vanoy, who's also a therapist, and talk about dealing with grief in our young people and our children and our community. You're watching Special Report.
Basically, fam, believe in giving. Like, we have to be willing to give more, and people seem to always think giving means money, but nah, bro. It's like you can give time, you can give understanding, you can give access, you can give a listening ear and an open heart. You can give and share your God-given gifts and talents, but you just got to give.
COVID-19 hurt my income, my health, and my family. We were about to lose our home when we heard we might be eligible for homeowner assistance funds from the government. We called 1-877-894-HOME, and a housing counselor stepped in, talked to our lender, and saved our home. Federal funding details at washingtonhaf.org. That's washingtonhaf.org.
Okay, well, now we're back. Welcome back to Special Report right here live from the Paramount Theater, and want to say thank you to STG Presents and to the Paramount for making space for us here, and especially this early slot. We got it together last night. We're going to welcome right now Adair Hasty of North, who's also a therapist. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here this morning.
All right. Man, before we went to break, and we'll play a video right here, we talked about how Devon was also a head coach of the CD Panthers, the 6U team. That's these young kids, ages 4 to 6, and his son also played on the team. And I know one thing for sure is our young people have been impacted, and not just by this. They're constantly impacted, and oftentimes we might not know how to approach it. We're going to play this short clip right here, and then we'll come back and talk about it.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, CD!
Just do what you can do, okay? Nobody expects you to do nothing but what Papa can do, okay? I'm right here with you. Daddy's right here with you, right here. Okay? You got this, right? You want me to be okay? Come on. Mommy's here to see you play, big boy. Okay? It's all about you. Okay? You need a break, you can do it, but you all of it in the game, okay? Daddy's in your heart, okay? Come on. Got it? I love you. You're so strong, okay? Daddy's so proud of you.
I want to make sure that the youth were supported. They lost their coach, and that's such a difficult time for the community as well. I want to make sure that I was out here. We did make an arrest, and that doesn't. While that might bring closure to the specific case, it doesn't bring closure to the community and everything that's going on. So I want to make sure I supported it.
When I flip the coin, say your call loud enough for the other team to hear, buddy. Okay? Here we go.
Tails.
Tails is called? Yeah! Tails it is, guys.
Yeah!
4, 5, 6, 7.
All right, big shout out, Proofing the Play for getting that footage out there. So what we saw there in that video, and two things that really stick out is you saw Kiana Pickett encouraging little Devon, Papa, before the game. Just to tell him to do what he can, and then also right there at the coin toss. You know what I'm saying? He called tails, and they got tails. You see them all jumping up and down. But man, what are the impacts of this kind of trauma, like on our young people?
Well, I think that far too frequently now, in particular, we're seeing this tragic loss of life over and over and over again. And one of the things that I hear a lot of young kids say is that, am I going to make it to 15, 13? I don't even have expectation about getting to 20 or 21. And they don't see life having longevity to it. And because they don't see life having longevity, there's fear. And there is a disruption in the daily life, because if there's fear, there's instability. If there's instability, there's no security. If there's no security, there's distraction, there's inability to focus. And so you're seeing kids now almost lose hope, if you will, because of what they're constantly being barraged with around the loss of life. And it impacts kids a lot of different ways. One of the things that I think as parents that we've got to become more aware of is how our kids are impacted by this loss of life that we're seeing with such regularity. I think when we see our kids get up, go to school, come home, do homework, play sports, that there's this subtle assumption that everything is okay because they look like pretty much like it's okay. But what we're missing is what's happening on the inside. And what also is missing is us affirming that emotion and tears are okay, that they're a normal, healthy part of our humanity. Like Michelle was saying, it's a normal part, but we say to our kids, and I heard you gentlemen mention it, be strong. Be strong has that connotation of no tears. And I want to encourage parents to rethink saying that, because there is strength in my acknowledgement that I am hurting. There is strength in my tears. Tears have a very therapeutic effect in our lives. They clean our eyes, but they're also a place where we release stress. They also have pain soothing properties. And so incorporating or valuing that process of tears is really, really important for kids to know, okay, I can still be who I am, even though I'm having some tears, even though I'm crying. Crying is a symbol of our humanity. And so having parents to acknowledge and encourage their children, tears are okay, emotions are okay. And before that even happens, though, it's important that a parent come to terms with their own sense of loss, that they acknowledge their own emotions, and that they normalize for their child their feelings of emotions as well.
Yeah, I think that and you're right. We hear that in even quite a few funerals that I've gone to, and people are well intending, of course, but you'll hear them tell these young kids, stop crying. You know what I'm saying? Be strong. And yeah, I think that we want to be more intentional. And it's unfortunate that I'm even saying this, but it's like we have to find a skill set to be able to communicate better with our young people around loss. And that's because we're losing so many. We're losing so many people in our community. That's actually a skill that we have to have now, is being able to communicate with our kids. What are some of the what are some things that, like, parents will want to be on the lookout for?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? When you talk about, kids might, they're going to maybe football practice or going to school, they're coming home. What are some of the maybe subtle signs that somebody want to look out for that might indicate that their child is struggling with dealing with grief?
Well, children, when they are typically dealing with grief, they express their grief in bursts, right? So they might have a major blowout, and then they pull it together. All right. Because the reason that we generally see that is because kids, they want to appear grown up, right? So, and what we model as adults is be strong, kind of hold it all together, right? And then, so they do that. But then the other thing is that kids don't want to seem like they're different from their friends when it comes to emotions, tears, crying, right? So they pull it back together really quick, and they keep going. But as a parent, there are things that you want to watch for. You want to look and see, well, is little Bobby, is he less focused on his work or her work? Is he or she their sleeping habits a little different now? Are we seeing more aggression in terms of their behavior towards others? Are they blowing up more frequently? When you're talking about like the really little people, 3 to like 6, 4 to 6, you might even see some regression in the behavior, increased bedwetting, difficulty falling asleep, really wanting to be assured and secure with their parent, needing that extra encouragement to feel like they can fall asleep. So when you begin to see some of those kinds of things, that's really when it's important to touch base with your child and ask, hey, honey, what's going on? How are you feeling? And helping a child to tap into what it is that they're feeling and normalizing that.
So even asking how they're feeling as opposed to telling them how they should feel.
Correctamundo.
Yes. I had a
It's that
question because, I think for a lot of people, it's just the what next after I'm done with my tears.
Okay.
How am I supposed to move forward after that? It is a sense of therapy for me. I feel like I let some things go with that. But for most people that say, you got to be strong and you're teaching your son to be strong. But for those strong people that, you know, want to start using their emotions,
Mhm.
how can they go through that emotion and then move forward and be better?
Really good question. So, like I said, one of the most important pieces is to acknowledge what it is that you're feeling and to help normalize for your child what you're feeling, right? That experiencing emotion is a normal part of life. And tears are a normal part of life. And if you are modeling that, right? If you're modeling that to the child, showing them that it's okay to be in touch with your feelings, that is a tremendous start. And then you asked about moving beyond the place of
And
tears.
after you get done with those tears, how can
Yeah.
you move forward and be better and try to walk into that, you know, being a better person and,
Okay.
and trying to get better, you know,
Okay.
because, you know, you can grieve for only a certain amount of time, but then, you know, you have to get back to, you know, moving forward through your journey and getting better and smiling about things too.
Mhm. Well, tears and the grief journey is not a finite process.
Okay.
Okay. It's not a finite process. You could go 3 months and then something reminds you or trigger a memory,
Yeah.
and the tears just begin to flow. So I want to encourage you to keep in mind that the grief journey is a journey. It's a process, and it's not a definitive start and it's not a definitive stop. For some folks, they will be able to hold it together, if you will,
Yeah.
you know, for days at a time, but then in the privacy of their bedroom, they can't sleep. The tears just begin to flow. And they're doing that in the privacy of their bedroom. Out publicly, face straight, keeping it together, right? But they're squelching that emotion that they're experiencing.
Do you think as a community we can we can kind of help that process of us, that strong behavior of us having to be strong and crying in a closet or crying in a privacy? Because
Absolutely.
I think like you know, the churches and things of that nature in our community was more of a safe space. I think we don't have enough safe spaces for us to grieve the way we you know, publicly, for us to all help each other grieve through this process. I'm grieving a lot, and it seems like it's ongoing, right? And the process, you know, it's a journey, right? But it just seems like I'm still always starting from the beginning.
It's not the beginning.
You know, because every death makes me feel like I'm starting from the beginning again, you know?
Okay. But it's not the beginning. It's the journey.
Yeah.
It's the journey. And the way that you know it's the journey is the tears. It's the tears, right? If you stop crying, then you've stopped really being engaged in your own journey of healing. And so I encourage you and, you know, those watching, be okay with the tears. Let them flow. Let them flow. And model that to other young people that, you know what, this is a loss and it is absolutely okay. It takes courage to acknowledge and be okay with tears. And that's what needs to be modeled to our young men and our young women, is that courage is acknowledging that I'm hurting. Courage is acknowledging that there is sadness and I'm experiencing a loss. That takes courage. It takes nothing to suck it up and do this, have it all buttoned up. It takes nothing. We've learned and been conditioned to do that. But what you're talking about and what you're doing and what you're experiencing is shifting the trajectory and saying to young men and young women, you know what? Enough is enough. This hurts. This is a loss. This is sadness. But I'm walking through this journey because it's important for me. And I want you to know it's important for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I try to walk like that every day, but it gets harder.
It does get harder. It is hard. It is hard. As you mentioned, loss after loss after loss, that makes it tough. But what was the saying? You know, the marathon continues. The journey of life continues. And the way to celebrate the legacy is living out the journey.
Oh, yeah. Got to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're getting up here on the top of the hour. But before we let you go, is there anything that you wanted to impart to our community members?
I think it's important that we get to the place where we normalize being in contact and connection with our emotions, and that we reinforce to our families that strength is in being connected to what you're feeling and being able to share what you're feeling with one another. When there's loss after loss after loss, it's no longer business as usual. It's no longer life as usual. We've got to take the pause and begin to connect, because in that connection, that's the healing. When I'm able to link arms with brothers and sisters while we're struggling in our grief, that's community, that's support, and that's healing. And that's what we've got to begin to do, is connect at the most basic of our levels of humanity. That's with our emotions.
Thank you. A few notes here. Well, we always are at the top of the hour. First of all, want to say that we took 2 breaks here during the show, and during those breaks, you'll see that there was QR codes. So, you can always go back through this episode and replay if you want to find a way to give and to donate. There's a few different options that are up there. Want to say thank you to Ashley McGirt and the Therapy Fund Foundation for always answering the call when reaching out. Want to thank our 2 therapists here today, Michelle and Adair. And I mean, really, it was man, we hit you guys last minute, and you're here. And of course, to see STG Presents and the Paramount Theater for making space this morning. And I would just say that, what we said at the top of the hour is this is a beginning, but at Converge, we got space for those in community, because there's lots of different people. D'Vonne touched a lot of different communities. You know what I'm saying? From his, college basketball and the basketball community to, of course, the young people, the CD Panthers, the business community, and everything else. And so, we got space here at Converge. We want people to be able to express themselves. And like you said, it as a media company, maybe that's a safe space that we can create. You know what I'm saying? And everywhere can be a safe space. Proof, anything before we get out of here?
Yo, man, I just want to tell D'Vonne Pickett and Caleb Isabel, man, I love y'all. I'm going to do what I said I was going to do. Living out my dreams, yo. I'm right here in the Paramount. And I'm hosted with all. So I'm going to keep going. It hurts, but I know he will want me to keep going. Absolutely. So I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep trying to put on for my community of Seattle. And yeah, man, I just want y'all to make sure y'all hug somebody, man, and love all of them. Don't love Adam, man. Love all of them, because we all we got.
But we all
really
we
all we need.
Yeah, when we do it like we do it,
always
we do it together. All right, we're gonna get out of here. We're back live again this morning at 11 a.m. for the Day with Trey. And then after that, at 12 p.m. with the Rewind with Besa. Again, want to thank everybody for tapping in. And I like what you said, man. Let's love on somebody today. Till next time. Peace.
Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support Converge Media today via Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal at Converge Media.